Diamonds, no filter.
Roots in the music industry.
Oh, I
also.
sure do, man. I sure do.
I'm gonna run off some names: Jimmy Henchman, Rick
Uh-huh.
Ross,
Uh-huh.
Magazine,
Uh-huh.
Maybach Music Jamaica.
Maybach Music Jamaica, MTV Dylon. I was his road manager for some time. My background is really in the Caribbean music. Growing up in East Flatbush, you see and you meet a lot of people. You cross paths with a lot of great minds.
Dub plates and shit.
Absolutely, you sure do. Myself and MTV Dylon from making the band, we were actually very close friends. We fought it over the same women.
Oh shit!
You know what I mean? That's how close we were. He's a very cool dude.
He spit hot fire too.
He spit hot fire too. Everybody know that. There's 5 great MCs. You know what I mean? But he's actually a really good dude. He just shopped a deal with VP Records, so congratulations to him.
Okay.
He's still making moves. He's still able to tour overseas. But where my background comes in, I started putting out an online magazine called Zion Train Magazine.
Okay.
All right. This is about the era of 2004 to 2009, where I was pushing Zion Train Magazine. When I was doing that, I was meeting a lot of reggae artists because I was interviewing them for the magazine. And I got to, make some great connections. There's a woman in Jamaica known as Raquel Reynolds, a.k.a. Zion Rock. She's the female side to Zion Train or to Zion Lexx. She was the main connect for me meeting reggae artists. So when we talk about reggae groups like Morgan Heritage, Grammy Award winning, I was actually trying to help him shop a deal here in New York City.
Wow.
You know what I mean? For about $40K. You know what I mean? So that's how immersed I became in some of the lives of some of these favorite reggae artists. But I was going hard at that time. My family, my brother Tip Top, shout out to him and all my UK family as well. Tip Top reached out to me and said, Lex, man, I see you bubbling. You're doing a good job, man. I got something for you. I'm doing my A&R thing with Rick Ross, and they have an artist called Magazine. And he put me on to him, you know what I mean? So I started checking him out. I reached out to him online, and I asked basically to join his street team, of which he obliged. No less than a month passed, and I realized that Maybach Music Group did not know what to do with an artist such as Magazine.
Who's a reggae artist?
Who's a reggae artist. He actually came up with some of the wickedest or some of the baddest reggae artists in Jamaica today, Vibes Cartel, who's actually running dancehall from jail.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's a whole nother history. But Magazine, as a reggae artist, they didn't know what to do with him in terms of promoting him. Maybach Music Group is a hip-hop label.
Yes.
All right? So they didn't know what to do with him. So I stepped in and I said, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the engine of Maybach Music Group and the fact that Def Jam is back in Rick Ross. We're going to use that engine, but I'm going to take you and we're going to create our own lane. We're going to call it Maybach Music Jamaica. I was pushing that in New York City so much that when Rick Ross started his self-made album tour, they performed at 106 in Park. The very first question that Roxy asked him didn't pertain to his album. She said, Ross, hold on now. This is just before the performance stopped. Before you go into self-made and all that, we got one question for you. There's been a lot of talk about this Maybach Music Jamaica. You go on Maybach Music Jamaica? He said, yeah, shout out to Maybach Music Jamaica, which is me, the person that started and created it. Uh-huh. And he said, also shout out to my artist Magazine. He is the future of reggae music. And with that being said, we started to promote heavy in the New York and Miami area. I had people like Jacure, major reggae artists on the phone. Mm-hmm. I had Movado and his manager Julian on the phone trying to shop a deal with them with Maybach Jamaica, because the same thing that I realized with Magazine is the same thing I realized with Movado. There was only so far that Movado was going to go under VP Records in the reggae world as an independent artist. Mm-hmm. You need sometimes, especially as these Caribbean artists, the backing of these major engines that we see here in America. Yep. So I said, you know what? I reached out to my sister, again, Zion Rock. She put me on the phone with Julian, who's still, to this day, Movado's manager, and we were talking. I invited them to the Maybach Music Jamaica launch party in Miami at King of Diamonds. During the time that we did this, man, let me tell you how much I was moving in the streets. Anybody that has ever rented out King of Diamonds, you know you gotta peel back a couple layers to make that happen. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? In terms of putting up that money. I was able to do that with no money up front.
Whoa.
No money up front, we had King of Diamonds. And again, it was because of the major name. Maybach Music was behind us. So people were opening doors and clearing the road for us. And the artist that was around me was seeing that and people was jumping on it. So I wind up talking with them about it, speaking about Movado, and we were really trying to get it work. During the time that we were trying to get it work, Warner Brothers has stepped in. I'm not sure if you remember part of this history. Warner Brothers stepped in and wanted to basically provide a platform for Maybach Music Group, the label that Rick Ross started, because Def Jam signed Rick Ross.
Yeah, but the label was
But the
something
label
different.
now
Yeah.
is something different,
Yep.
and this is for people that don't understand how the music industry works. If I'm a rapper and I'm grounded in the street and I have people that I pull in and I form a label, that doesn't mean that they're going to be on the label I'm already on, such as Rick Ross being on Def Jam. So he still was trying to shop a deal for his artist and his label. And at the time, Warner Brothers stepped up. I believe it was Tom Wasowitz, I believe his name is, who stepped up and said, "Listen,
Markowitz
man,
or something like that.
Markowitz,
One of them.
I wanted
One
to
of them dudes. Yeah.
Right. He wanted to basically take it on. With that being said, it was promised to me by Magazine that I was going to be the president of Maybach Music Jamaica, being
Okay.
that I was the brainchild behind it, and I basically created a name and a vibe for him that Maybach Music Group wasn't even providing for him. I had people here in New York City playing his radio, playing his records. You know what I mean? I had DJ Nori, shout out to my brother DJ Nori, who's now the main and only reggae DJ on Power 105.1. Before he
too,
even
right?
got that, and he's a union DJ.
Union DJ.
Shout
Yep.
out to
Shout
him.
out to Self.
Just before he got that post, I had a sit down in an interview with him, interviewing him to be a Maybach Music Jamaica DJ.
Wow.
You know what I mean? This is big. This is just before Nori came into Power 105.1. Again, shout out to Nori. Very, very cool dude. So I was really busting my ass to make it work for a lot of people in the industry. And people that were around me were starting to see that, you know what? You are going hard for so many people, but the doors is opening. We seeing the movements, but there's no real money coming your way. But one thing I've always been motivated towards is the work, because I know money will eventually come. And at the time, I really wasn't hurting for money. I was actually going around New York City, melting gold on an armored vehicle.
Oh, word?
There's a company called AOW, located in Chesapeake, Virginia, who actually flew me out and another brother out, and we actually learned how to melt gold on an armored vehicle.
So you was on some gold for cash shit?
Gold for cash. Listen, we used to pull up at the Diamond District, 47th Street, and shop deals and basically take money from the refiners in the Diamond District. You know how serious that was? You know what I mean? For me to be on an armored vehicle and have all these people that's connected to the gold and diamond industry, and those are people that are legal carriers. So when they walk around the Diamond District, for anybody who's ever been there, you actually could see that the hammer hanging on their hip.
Yeah.
It's legal. You know what I mean? With that being said, there was a day that I actually pulled up to King's Plaza and we did a 75K melt in King's Plaza. So we was bubbling, man, and I didn't really need the money from Rick Ross to say, hey, do this, because again, I had other things that I was doing that was making my family work. You know what I mean? In fact, I was the one supporting and fronting money for me to fly from Miami and other parts of the country to back Magazine. We had a fallout. The fallout was due to the fact that, number one, there were people around Magazine that wasn't really feeling me. For instance, I went to Tahiri's birthday party. Myself, Tip Top, and a couple other people. In fact, that night I actually introduced Ghostface. Shout out to Ghostface Killer to my brother Tip Top. You know what I mean? We met that night. We spoke. We talked. They even exchanged numbers. While we was there to hear his birthday party, Wale was there because Rick Ross was now starting to see all the work that I was putting in was really starting to give Magazine a buzz. So he took a jump out and said, you know what, we're going to have Magazine open up for Wale on all his tours. They wound up doing a song together called Black Panamera, based on the song The Panamera Porsche.
Okay.
That song is hard. There's a video for it too with Wale and Magazine, and I adjure y'all to check it out. By no means am I trying to diss the brother or stop the brother from doing what he got to do. That's never been a Zion Lexx thing. I just got to tell my story. You know what I mean? So with that being said, we had a fallout at Tahiri's birthday party. Wale seen me, and some of the things that you noticed, Wale being a B-more dude, I guess he really wasn't used to that. He looked at Magazine and he looked at me, and somebody that was with me said, yo, Wale just said to Magazine, you look like the hype man, and your man look like he's the artist. They was talking in reference to me having jewelry on and Magazine looking plain. Now, anybody that's around the hip-hop industry and has been around real, genuine artists, sometimes artists that come from various backgrounds may have people surrounded around them who actually get more money than them.
Facts.
Because contrary to popular opinion, just because you see your favorite rapper on TV don't mean he getting money.
Getting no money.
A lot of times, a lot of people behind the scenes that you see with the rapper, they be the engine supplying and doing a lot of things.
Basically, Wale hated.
Basically, he hated. You know what I mean? Shout out to Wale. You know, because by him doing that, it gave me more drive to create my own lane. And this is what I had to learn. Sometimes when you work so hard to create something for somebody else, some people actually take that for granted. It is only when you begin to realize that that same energy and that same effort can bring into fruition your ideas, your feelings, your thoughts, and you channel it positively and you start to see things happen. Things really started to bubble for me when I put energy into things that I had talent in.
You are your biggest investment.
You are your biggest investment.
So all right, obviously y'all had a falling out.
Right.
So what happened with the whole Maybach Music Jamaica thing?
All right, so I reached out to Jack Thriller through some mutual friends, Jack Thriller of thisis50.com, and he sent back word with a female for me to talk to, who's actually one of the radio show hosts for thisis50.com. She actually headed a show called The Rhonda Show, which is the show that I first met Uncle Murder on. I had a talk with her. She put me in touch with a couple of 50 Cent's lawyers. You know what I mean? And we start talking, we start building, and he said, listen, man, the biggest mistake you did is something that you shouldn't be ashamed of. It's called paperwork. He said, do you know how many artists in the industry do not have any money today because they were going by the word of somebody else who kept telling them, I got you. And because you're a genuine stand-up guy and you expect that people are like you salute that and you keep moving for them. But the bottom line is, if the paperwork don't got your name on it, there is no check coming your way. So the fact remains, I never actually made and established paperwork with Rick Ross about me being the president of Maybach Jamaica. Although media in Jamaica and New York City reported the honest truth, which is the idea that I was the creator of that thing, that wasn't sufficient to send me a check. Magazine was touring, and he was promoting Maybach Jamaica during his tours. So certainly from a legal aspect, I could have been entitled to some money's gain for the use of the name, but because there was no paperwork established, I wound up losing out. But from what I understand, the beautiful thing about it is that to this day, you haven't seen them use it again. So, you know, I appreciate Magazine. I wish him the best in all he does. And it was a learning process, like the game is supposed to be. You know, speaking about people being behind the scenes and having money and not getting the recognition, listen, even Jay-Z had people behind the scenes that was putting in work money-wise, that the chains you see wearing on your favorite rapper wasn't always funded by your favorite rapper.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And I'll leave it at that.
So, their Magazine is fuck his Magazine.
You don't really hear him at all unless you at a Wale show, because he still opens up for Wale.
He still open up for Wale.
Unless you go to a Wale show, you don't hear about him. And that's the problem, because I gave him such a lane that without even Wale mentioning him, touring with him, I had Roxy and 106 in Park saying, listen, Rick Ross, Maybach Jamaica is a big thing here in New York City. We hearing it blow. What are you doing? And it's because of the work that I was putting in.
Did you ever have a conversation with Ross since that situation?
Never had a conversation with him since then. You know, I spoke to Tip Top about it. You know, he shared my views, and his views echoed a lot of the things that the lawyer said. You got to make sure that your paperwork is right. It's only so far that I got you, homie.
The
shit
handshake shit going.
Yeah.
Go. All right. So also you spoke to me about your relationship with Jimmy Henchman.
Now, that's a very unique relationship, man. Shout out to the Henchman family. Shout out to his wife, Cynthia. Shout out to his cousin, Rachel. Shout out to his son, Jebelani, young Jimmy. These are good people, man. Contrary to popular opinion.
Yeah, because Jimmy Henchman's like, they look at him like the boogeyman.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Contrary to popular opinion, people paint the picture that Jimmy is a bad dude. Jimmy is a grimy dude. Jimmy's a rat. Jimmy's a killer. Jimmy was involved somehow, some way in the shooting the Pac. Listen, this is what I could tell you about.
Doggie Diamonds, no filter.